Hey guys, I'm Dylan Allen from Allen Endurance Coaching. Today we're talking about deadlifts. Hey guys, so today we're talking about deadlifts, and the reason why is because it's summer, and for a lot of us it's kind of the off season. If we're track, cross country, indoor track runners, the summer's out of the school year, so it's off season. If we're older, like adults with life and kids and jobs and that kind of thing, a lot of times if we're into those longer events like half marathons, ultras, and triathlons, the training for it to really train for those events requires some harder threshold work that's not necessarily safe to do during the peak of the summer heat. So what we can do is use some of that summer season to kind of go back to basics and address the foundation that keeps us healthy and strong and injury-free for the rest of the year. And so often that means spending some time in the gym. Not necessarily powerlifting or Olympic lifting, but we want to make sure we're working on the joint integrity and core stability and working on having a full range of motion that's smooth and controlled. That way when we're trying to apply that in training and racing, we're not getting hurt. So today we're going to specifically talk about deadlifts. We've done squats before. I'll put a link for that in the description below. But we need to make sure that we're doing some deadlifts too. And I know a lot of people are really afraid of them because I've seen a lot of people get hurt. But if you're getting hurt doing deadlifts, you're either doing it way too heavy, you're trying to lift weight you don't have any business lifting, or you have bad mechanics, or some combination of the two. But if you clean up your mechanics, just like with any other exercise, you'll be a lot safer and a lot less prone to injury. So for today, I'm going to be using a broom handle to demo this. And if you're learning how to do this, a broom handle or PVC pipe is pretty common for learning how to do it, just so you have a bar to hang on to. I have found in my personal experience, it's good to go through the motions and try to figure out how to do it with something super light like this. But a lot of people have an easier time actually getting the muscles to engage in the right order once they get just a little bit of weight. You know, maybe just like an Olympic bar, even 20 pounds. Something to give you just a little bit of resistance so that those muscles have something to pull against. A deadlift. The reason why it's called a deadlift is because your arms are hanging straight down the whole time, like you're picking up a dead weight. The big thing we want to look for is you want a straight line from your shoulder through your knee to your foot through the whole range of motion. And so it's more of a forward and back with the hips more so than an up and down, even though we're picking something up. But that's really just because of geometry. So if you watch, we're starting in a full upright position, our core is engaged, we're going to roll the shoulders kind of down and back, that way the lats are engaged and the core is solid, right? This is why if you see people lifting heavy, a lot of times they have a weight belt on to protect the lower back. But if you're doing this right and not lifting more than you should be lifting, your transverse abs, which go all the way around from one side of your spine to the other, should do the trick of keeping your spine stable for you. That's the whole purpose of your transverse abs. And so if you can't stabilize your lower back, if you can't stabilize your hips doing this, it's too heavy. You need to use less weight. There's a time and place for using weight belt. For most of us endurance athletes, most of our training, you shouldn't need one. If you need one, you're doing it wrong. But we want a straight line from the middle of our foot through our knee, through our shoulder. Notice this is really similar to our basic running position, right? Right here. The weight's kind of in the middle of the foot, the hip is over the middle of the foot, and that shoulder is over the hip or a little forward. So for lifting, we got that straight line, foot, knee, shoulder. And we want to stay there through that whole range of motion. For getting set up, again, we want to have those shoulders rolled back and down, so the lats are engaged, so the core is solid. We want to be engaged here. and we're going to want to engage the glutes. So it'll feel like your feet are doing this on the ground, but they're not slipping, they're going to hang on. And that's going to create some torque in your hips, just like when we're doing the squats, right? We're creating that torque, taking the slack out system so it's stable. And for deadlifts, stable is safe, all right? We want just enough mobility to be able to move. Other than that, we want it rock solid so that nothing is moving that we don't want to move or in a way we don't want it to move. So we're going to start with our feet about hip width apart, shoulders down and back, glutes are engaged, core is solid, abs are tight, and then we want our head to stay neutral through the whole range of motion. And this is, so if we're here sideways, if you notice, through that whole range of motion, I'm keeping that straight line from my foot to my knee to my shoulder through that whole range of motion. Forward and back with the hips, and the lower back is staying flat. You notice two things. One, I get to the bottom, my head's still in a neutral position. So I'm actually, if I'm looking straight ahead, I'm going to be looking down at the ground, 90 degrees to my back. I'm not looking up. Because if you notice, if I look up, what my lower back does is it arches. And this is the reason why so many people blow out their back and have L4, L5 issues because of trying to pick up something heavy. Because they get down here, and then they go, and look up, like their high school coach taught them how to do when they were lifting in the weight room, and then they try to lift like this. That is not safe. You're relying on the end of range of motion in your spine to keep you stable. Now, the discs in between those vertebrae are there as shock absorbers. And you get two of those vertebrae next to each other, and you arch your back, they go like this, and squish that disc, and then it explodes. And that's how people hurt their back. Don't be one of those people. I get plenty of clients coming in for personal training, or even running clients, or multi-sport clients, that have L4, L5 issues, and normally it's because of picking up something with bad mechanics. We want to scoot the hips back so we're keeping that straight line from the foot to the knee to the shoulder through the whole range of motion. The head's in that neutral position, the back is flat, and then we're just going to squeeze the hips forward. Notice through that whole range of motion, we're keeping that straight line from the foot to the knee to the shoulder. The lats are down and engaged the whole time, and the back stays flat. We don't want to get here and then round our back, because then we get here and then we're using our back to get it up before we start using our legs. And that is that's the second reason why people get hurt, especially endurance athletes with tight hamstrings. Because if you have tight hamstrings with a limited range of motion, and you're doing deadlifts, and your bar is on the floor, if you can't reach the bar on the floor with good mechanics, you have to round your back to grab it. Notice if I'm here, I can't start with my back in a good position. So we have to either get better range of motion at the hips and the hamstrings, which is why a good warm-up is important, or we have to start with our bar, whatever our resistance weight is, kettlebell, bar, whatever, at a higher position. If you're using a kettlebell, you can just use a bench. I'll use my chair here as a demonstration. But you can always just put your bar or your kettlebell or whatever on the bench so that you're not all the way down, right? We still want to, when we pick it up, we still want to be right under our shoulders with it. So we're just squeezing the hips forward. Then you can take a step back, do your deadlifts, however many you're doing. Then you can step forward, set your weight down. Good mechanics picking it up and putting it down. It's still a deadlift. It's still a deadlift when you're picking it up before the set starts. Do it right so you don't get hurt. All right, guys. So the big things to remember about deadlifts: keep the core super stable. Don't arch your back. Don't overextend it or hyperextend it or underextend it. We want it flat the whole time so we're not crunching the L4, L5. And the easiest way to do this is to keep the head neutral. If you are trying to watch yourself in the mirror and your head comes up, you're going to arch your back, right? So keep the back stable while you do it so you don't hurt your lower back. The second thing, make sure you keep a straight line from your shoulder to your knee to your foot through the whole range of motion. If you do those two things, you're probably going to be safe. I'd highly recommend, if you're doing this in front of a mirror and you want to check your form, don't stand facing the mirror. Stand at 45 to 90 degrees to the mirror so you can see your back and your mechanics without having to tilt your head up. Because as soon as you start tilting your head up, you're going to arch your back. So if you stand to the side, you can look to the side out of the corner of your eye without cranking your neck. Just out of the corner of your eye, and you'll be able to see where your back is and your shoulder and your hip, and your knee and your foot. And remember that it's driving the hips back and forward, not up and down. Make sure the lats are engaged, make sure the shoulders are down and back, because that'll help keep your core stable, the upper core stable. Make sure the glutes are engaged, so your feet are going to feel like you're doing this on the ground. You're going to grab on with your toes, and you're going to try to separate the ground. And by engaging your glutes that way, you're going to make your hip and your lower back stable. And so if you can do that, and keep that back flat, you'll be perfectly safe. So, good solid stability in the shoulders, back, and hips. A straight line from the shoulder to the knee to the foot. Don't add more weight until you can go through the whole range of motion without a problem. The only reason to add more weight is to make it harder to stabilize, which for us endurance athletes is normally why we're doing this type of stability work. It's full body, and it translates well to race day down the road. So, this summer, train smart, be safe, don't do anything dumb. If there's anything you want to hear about in a future video, leave a comment down below or shoot me an email. I'd love to hear from you. I want to know what you want to hear about. Hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, let me know what you want to hear, share this with your friends, family, whoever, and let me know what you got going on. What are you doing in the gym this summer? Till next time, train smart.